What is buffer time? What is buffer time? Is what buffer time?
Hello there, buffer timers. We're coming to the end of our TNG movie reviews. Thankfully, I'm not sure how there are still 3 movies left to get through, but we'll get through them. But before we get through today, or those, or anything, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Dustin from Best of Trek, Worst of Trek.
I am Shin Scott of Remus of Opinions No One Cares About. That's right, I am my own younger clone.
I'm Josh from Wind Grace Project. I shins on, but I also shins off.
My name is Vanessa, and I host a YouTube channel called I Love Bad Star Trek.
Hi, I'm Shereese, and I have a YouTube channel and all the socials at The Sci-Fi Savage.
Hello, I'm Ren. You can find me at Ren Rants.
Okay. I've got an announcement that we'll get to in a little while. I'll let a few more people log in, hopefully. So let's start in on the questions for this wonderful, wonderful movie. Does the Nemesis opening sequence, is it the best opening sequence in a Trek movie?
Maybe. It's so I'm like the last person who should probably answer this question, but I really like First Contact, how it zooms in from the eyeball and then it's like the Borg cube and then it's like a dream, but then it's actually a nightmare, but then it's real. I kind of like that intro into, oh, this movie's about the Borg. And I also was shocked by this crazy bioweapon opening. So, which doesn't totally set the tone for this movie because it's not like bioweapons everywhere. Like it doesn't have the same connection that the Borg one did, but it was pretty shocking and dramatic. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? And then the movie just like, it just kept going. So for me, I guess a tie.
There's very little about this opening sequence that has anything to do with anything that happens later. So it's
other than
really,
Romulan.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
it's like it's so divorced from the rest of it because this incident doesn't even get mentioned when Janeway contacts Picard. It's just like, well, we just need to make it diplomatic inroads with Shinzon. So this, it's like,
point.
well, it happened and it's horrifying, but like, it doesn't really feel like it had any consequences later in the movie.
It's just Romulans being Romulans. No big deal.
Turn into stone like Romulans do.
It is kind of a weirdly cursory murder coup when you think about it.
Yes, but a good hook.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because like you see that and you're like, oh man, this movie is gonna slay, and then it doesn't. But it's a good hook.
Writes a check the movie does not cash.
Yeah. And also, if you like think about it backwards, all of the Romulans you saw in the previous couple series climbing the ranks and struggling to get in charge are now just dust. So hooray for that. Except Seela, she's still fine.
Isn't that how we all feel? Climbing that ladder just to turn to dust. Okay, that's a different conversation.
Weak.
Yeah, this is my favorite intro to one of the movies because it goes right in there. It doesn't mess around. It gives us some action. It gives us some stakes. I think you're right, Vanessa, though. I hadn't really thought about how they never address, the whole Senate of the Romulan Empire just dissolving into puddles of goo. So that's...
Maybe they just hit it really well.
They basically turn into that gravel at the bottom of a fish tank.
It reminds me of I'm trying not to spoil it, but a certain event in Game of Thrones where a very large institution gets exploded and then there's basically no consequences at all afterwards. Like, none whatsoever. It's like the same energy where we're like, oh, the government of this entire planet just got fucked. Nothing happened.
In between.
So
That's
I'm
what
going
we
to
call
use this
Throwback
time
Thursday.
while we have Del on the stream. Our good friend Dell here, who has been with Buffer Time since episode 5. I didn't realize it was that early till I went back and looked at some things today. We've had almost 100 episodes. Dell, you were our first super fan in the first couple of episodes, just chatting away with us. And then you came on in episode 5, and you've been here off and on all along. And Dell isn't not having a good time getting through life right now. You guys that have been here for a while, you might notice I have never asked you to like and subscribe, but there are some buttons down below if you want to do that. But on a really serious note, I am going to make a call to action here and ask if any of you can give just 47 cents a day to sponsor a buffer timer or, whatever you can afford. Dell is facing homelessness. And there's a GoFundMe out there that most of us have already given to what we can. I would really encourage you. It is in the link below, in the description below. And I have made this great tribute to Dell from over the years.
Oh, hi. I'm brand new to the live stream. So hi, my name is Dell. I use a motor chair full time. The human drama helps connect us to it better. And I'm just like, you can't fix me. At least one scene was a bunch of people humping on each other. The Umox Rub Dungeon. And for me to complain that there's too much sex in something is a big deal. Every planet has a dungeon, let's go! Like this guy who learned how to sit on chairs weird, or game sitting on chairs weird, has now become a fairly prolific director.
Built. Totally.
I'm taking a vacation on Ryza. How you personally feel about growing older, like right now. I have no YouTube channel because I'm a loser and I have opinions that no one cares about. Over time, it mutated into asses and elbows. I definitely became a punk because of that guy in the movie. I wanted to ask one more question, but it's a little heavy, so there's your warning. Do you know what lesbians and gays are? Have you ever heard those words before? Everything is kind of screwed up and no one knows what's going on. But thank you guys for giving me the time and the space and the tears.
That one's
Oh,
for
that
you,
was
Dell.
beautiful. That was beautiful, Dustin.
So if you can give $10 to keep this wonderful person in a wheelchair off of the streets, please go to the links below. Now it's going to be hard to get back into this movie review after that, but
I'm keeping this.
thanks for putting up with it, everybody. We're here for you, big guy. So let's try
All of us showing our age by how we do the hand hearts.
What's the new one? This or something?
There is. I can't. I think it's just with the fingies, but I can't remember.
So why isn't Worf ambassador to the Klingon Empire anymore, as we saw at the end of DS9? What do you think happened there?
I was just gonna say because that would give him something to do.
You can't have too many Klingons getting involved in this one because half of them are conspiring with Romulans anyway.
They were dishonorable as hell, and he was just like, I'm just gonna sip my chamomile tea and be done with this.
Yeah, he's just here to hate on Irving Berlin, pretty much.
He couldn't get prune juice, so he had to come home.
He has to be the crew's grump. He needs to be the sourpuss.
He didn't volunteer to be the threesome yet, though.
Yeah, right.
I heard not so many. I heard I saw an interview with Michael Doran, the actor who plays Worf, where he was saying he was asked to come back as Worf in other things. And he was like, no, because all I'm going to do is stand in the corner and growl. And I'm done doing that. I would like to do some more acting. Like I want to have lines. I want to do more things. And I think maybe this was the movie that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I don't know. Where he was just like, enough, okay? If that's all you want me to do, just let me play something else and someone else.
Yeah, LeVar didn't have a good time on this movie either, so it might have broken a lot of spirits.
I think this movie didn't have a good time in this movie. So Nadia had asked in the comments, like, oh man, you guys hate this movie too? Well, I didn't want to. And I don't think the writers did either. Because in watching it, I felt like they thought this movie was going to crush. Like the dune buggy races, that like there's so many ingredients that could have worked, but they just don't go together or something. I don't really know. I don't know what went wrong. I don't know what failed. But it seemed like in watching this movie, that they had high hopes that this movie was going to be amazing and everyone was going to love it. And maybe everyone does. But at the end of it, I was very upset and I did not love it. And I don't know what, the majority of fans felt, but there was some kind of crossed wires for me with this one.
I totally agree. It's got great moments here and there, but it is so much less than the sum of its parts. As a literal child, I didn't hate it until the very end when you know what happens. That was just this, filled me with rage.
Same.
Data died. The way Data died sucks, and I hate it, and it makes me angry.
Don't worry, you bring him back 12 times.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Of course you
I
did.
hate it. Totally unnecessary. It's like your generic sacrificial hero's death, but no, I would have liked Data to just live forever instead. Honestly, I hate it.
I preferred his death in Picard season 1 because it was his decision. He didn't want to continue to be a tool for Starfleet and by extension the Federation. In this, also, he comes back immediately following. They have the beta thing, and it just sucks the life out of that loss immediately.
You know what? Not only does having before, so I remember this movie very clearly watching younger because Data's my favorite character. So I took it personally. This is a personal attack on me as a human and part android when this happened. And I remember seeing before and being really irritated by that character, in the movie. And then when Data died and they're like, well, we still have before. So it's the same thing. I was just like, what do you, so we have Lorcana, so we don't need Troy. What are you talking about? That is so, yes, not only does that suck some of the sincerity in that loss, but also in that final scene, which I didn't notice this till my last rewatch, but in that final scene when they're all in the observation lounge talking about it, I mean, Geordi doesn't have one tear anywhere. They're just yeah, so where are we going next? Oh, by the way, we should do a funeral or something for Data. I don't know, we'll figure it out. And I just was that also felt like a slap in the face, the 7 years of friendship between them, that he wasn't upset in any way. I mean, do you remember the episode Next Days where Data's going out of his way to plan Geordi's funeral, and it's a whole thing? Right. And this is just oh, you know what? We got some time for lunch. Do we want to do a ceremony or something? Or no, we all got meetings? Okay. It just felt, again, as a fan, I felt like they did not take care of my feelings as a fan. Not that that's their job, I guess, but I felt it just felt like a slap in the face. The whole thing.
Even if there was a small scene where he went to his quarters and picked up Spot or something, and then he looked around and saw his art, and he's there alone, knowing his friend's gone.
Or
it didn't have to be a big thing.
Yeah, the Tasha Yar hologram, and just looking at it and being oh, this was important to Data. Literally anything, any kind of emotion that you have lost someone you care about.
Going into Data's quarters and getting the cat,
they wanted to recreate the Wrath of Khan death scene and that sort of impact, and I don't think they did it correctly because there was a lot of dialogue between Kirk and Spock before they parted ways via dying in that scene. Whereas with this, it was just it looked like they cut out a lot in order to keep it an action-oriented thing, and it's to its detriment because there's no emotionality there.
There are quite a few famous deleted scenes from this, including an entire different ending. But
yeah, I think there's more deleted scenes in this one than probably any of the Star Trek movies. And they're real, yeah, like you said,
hell are we
Josh, a
talking
lot
about
of them
this
are
one?
really big and kind of important.
Yeah, character stuff, like the whole Wesley conversation, the whole conversation with Crusher at the end, like when she moves on, the whole new first officer, like it's just they cut out all the character to put in more explosions, I guess. I don't know.
More dune buggy rides with
Yeah.
like automatic weapons.
More dune buggies. More
Is there
Three
only
Dune,
four?
two
I thought it was
buggy.
more than 4, but because this is only a few years before like Lower Decks and Prodigy take place.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, I love that the new first officer is also Major Hayes from Enterprise season 3. So at least he got to do something kind of cool in Trek, rather than be Picard's sidekick for like 5 minutes before Raffi becomes his new adjutant when he becomes an admiral.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know what went wrong here. Like I said, I feel like there was a lot of ingredients that could have gone somewhere. The fact that so much character development was deleted to make room for stuff that didn't really connect to anything or make a total lot of sense. I don't know.
I think the focus on Shinzon did not help. I think if they really wanted to make this a mirror of Picard, there was ways that could have been done without it being this really stiff, stereotypical villain. They could have really done a lot, and it could have connected with Picard as Locutus.
Ooh,
I mean,
that would have
had
been
a
cool.
sort of mirror of him as himself as Locutus. So it's like this trope has been done before, and they're trying to make this like nature nurture thing argument. Like I could have been this had I been in this set of circumstances, but they did not make that case nearly strong enough. And instead, we just got a lot of action sequences that don't have the emotional resonance because we don't really care about the characters involved. That's
You
my
mean-
theory.
Well, I do
You
care
mean-
about Troy and what Nadia says here. Like, I mean, this one's pretty obvious. This is the reason that most people hate this movie, because it was the umpteenth time Troy gets mind
Yes.
assaulted.
Literally.
It was, and it does nothing for the plot until you get to the end, and it's like
Literally.
she gets to play with the fucking
Yeah,
I
but
want to say
we coulda-
Jenga, the
we could have
was it
had
the
that
Ouija board wheel, and like,
yeah.
Okay, well, I can pinpoint the ship now. Go ahead, everybody.
Jenga. But we could have had that without the assault. Like we could have had her
Oh, wait,
flexing
it was-
her mental abilities without first being assaulted, right? She could have been like, wait, like he could have entered her mind and given her a nightmare. It didn't have to be a sexual assault. It could have
Troy
been
must suffer.
Yeah. And they had to film it with 3 different characters too. Just to really bring it home.
Troy has consistently been a lightning rod of suffering on TNG in a way that has
100%.
hardly ever been necessary. In this particular instance, it was totally unnecessary. A friend of mine has made a fan edit, and that entire sequence was completely removed, and it only improves the story to delete it. The only way that they could have justified instead of white bread instead of a tortilla. Yes. The only reason that this could have been integrated more effectively is if, again, we focused on the mirror between Picard and this character. Would Picard have taken actions like this had he been raised in a similar set of circumstances as Shinzon? If we focused on that more, then this scene would have made sense. But as it is, it's just more cruelty for cruelty's sake. It's very much like that assault scene or flashbacks that they had in Discovery. They showed over and over and over again. It was so horrible.
Yeah, and I think that point too of the of like the gratuitousness, just the sheer gratuity of Troy being assaulted yet again, kind of matches the sheer gratuity of Data dying in such a senseless way, where it's like, I don't know. I feel like that's the issue with the movie. Like the opening scene with this bioweapon that's so gratuitous again. You're kind of like, okay, like something wild and crazy is happening, and then it just like shifts gears to something else. And then you're like, okay, all right. And then it shifts gears again. And you're like, okay, wait, no, there's something else going on. And then it shifts gears and you're just kind of like, I'm not sure where to focus here. I'm not sure what the point is. And even just the moral of the story, like the plot that Shinzon is like, I'm going to take out Earth because I hate looking like Picard. I don't understand your motivation. Like,
that is a great point. Someone mentioned it here. It's like they're trying to do the Wrath of Khan thing, but they're like, oh, Wrath of Khan had a big Genesis weapon. So we need a big weapon to destroy a planet too, even though it doesn't fit the plot.
I feel like Star Trek tends to be at its worst when it's got planet destroying weapons involved, honestly, just like consistently.
The only time that isn't the case is the Planet Eater in TOS, I think.
Well, because that was still a personal story at its heart.
Yeah.
it
Just wanted to
feels
be.
like Picard riding a dune buggy.
The thing about, like, to Dell's question about like who has it worse off, Miles or Troy, I would say that Troy is a victim of a lot of gendered violence.
Yeah.
So it's apples to oranges.
Yeah.
I think it's annoying that, like, okay, so the various like mind assaults on Troy are already bad enough, but most of them are typically like the like sexual assault aspect of it is like subtext. And I'm kind of just like extra annoyed that in this movie they felt the need to like not just have it be subtext, but also add like the in your face, like while she's trying to like sleep with her husband aspect of the whole thing. Like it like makes your skin crawl. It's so gross. And yeah, like gratuitous was definitely the right word for it. It's just, I feel like it's the worst of the Troy mind assaults, and they're all so bad.
Well, I
It
think
also didn't make a sense. in the plot.
Jev was worse.
Jev.
Because
But
this one
is
doesn't
Jev.
go on very
This
long.
is Jev, though. This is Jev again. Like, they just dusted that off and threw it into this movie.
I agree, but Jev was worse. That one was like personal and weird and deeply disturbing. This one, I have no idea why it happens, and at least it only takes up minutes of the runtime.
They hinted at something as soon as Shinzon met Troy. Shinzon started making moves on Troy, and it was really creepy.
Wants
So
to
they
touch
were
her
trying
hair.
to like,
What is with is this
build up
like
to
a
that.
Rick Berman thing, writing into these scripts about like dudes playing with her hair? Because this happens in The Price too.
Yeah.
It's the cringiest
Yeah, with,
fucking moment in Star
Devanani
Trek.
Rawl.
Definitely raw,
Mhm.
yeah. That creep. Yeah, and then it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like the whole thing, like every part of it, you're just like, I don't know. I felt like the first 20, 30 minutes, because I mean, most movies, that's about how long it takes for you to really get invested in everything. I was still confused. Like, I get Shinzon's trying to destroy Picard, Earth, Federation, something, but I don't know why.
But
And
like,
I don't-
he
why
also
should I care?
starts with a desire for peace, and that's what's so confusing. Like, he starts off with this like thinly veiled intention of starting talks for peace. Peace for what? Like, and then it was really awkward. I agree. It's really confusing. Sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay. But that's what I'm saying. It's like a what the TNG podcast co-host would call a soup sandwich, right? There's like a lot of stuff going on that probably was going somewhere, and then you put it all together and you're like, that was a mistake. One of the people that I talked about this movie with on a podcast said like they're familiar with like the writing world. Shinzon : it's not working. That's because he has no colon. He's got some medical issues. Did you see this movie? He's got medical issues. Okay. I forgot.
Sorry to derail you, Shereese, but that was just if you know, you know.
Yeah. So what I was gonna say is this guy in another podcast, on the STTNG's podcast, worked in the industry as a animator, and he was saying sometimes behind the scenes there's a lot of fingers in the pie when it comes to creating a movie. So like you'll have the script written and it's like, okay, here's the story, but then you'll have the design team come in and say, but we need toys and games that people can buy from this movie. So now we need to add in a dune buggy. Now we need to add in a phaser rifle for the little animated figure, the action figure or whatever. So he was saying maybe that's what happened here, that a lot of people had input that turned it into this soup sandwich. But I just don't know. Like, I can't help but compare this to First Contact, because First Contact to me was excellent and this was not, but I felt like it should have been. So I can't pinpoint what all about this movie is hitting the wrong notes so consistently. Because it's not just the assault and it's not just Data dying. but it definitely is those things as well.
It's not just the fact that Shinzon sits around drinking tea for a surprising chunk of the runtime.
And the answer is yes, Norma.
Tightest outfit in the galaxy. I was like,
yeah.
that poor guy cannot breathe.
Party City Corset King.
He looked good though.
He did. It was a fun design. I think the choice to make him like young Picard really is so bizarre and like out there. Like, this is one of those movies where like if you try to explain the plot to someone who's like not familiar with Star Trek and hasn't seen it, they're gonna look at you like you have terrible taste in movies. Which, like, fair, but
Okay, there is a Shinzon action figure. I've never seen it. But, all right.
Does it have the
Oh,
shoulder
heck yeah.
pads?
Yes.
I hope so.
does it come with a teacup?
And Picard doesn't even have those luscious lips like Tom Hardy does. So either Tom needed to get a lip reduction or Picard needed to get lip filler to make.
But you know what? He does a great
The
job.
cloning
in
process
Pearl,
wasn't
Yeah.
entirely perfect.
I mean,
guess it
honestly,
is- Sorry.
there's like nobody that quite hits Patrick Stewart as young Patrick Stewart. Here's probably a really super controversial take on it. He might have been too young at the time, but Benedict Cumberbatch, I think, could actually make a decent young Patrick Stewart if you shaved his head.
He has
He'd
the
make a hell of a
gravitas,
lot
but
better
the
Picard
nose
than
is all
fucking
wrong.
Khan.
Oh, yeah.
He
I
has the
still felt like
gravitas.
it was,
into that.
it was the
No.
dialogue though that wasn't hitting. It was very cliched and not very wieldy dialogue. So I don't know if anyone really would have.
I guess we can
risen
at least
above.
be grateful that they didn't have it just be Patrick Stewart being young Picard again.
I would have loved if they put him like with a backwards baseball cap and he just played young Picard.
Really?
Like
What
really
about
long
that?
jeans, like really big jeans where he like walks on his knees with big shoes.
Genko jeans, yes.
Oh my god. Okay, now on second thought, no, I want that. Give it to me, Paramount.
Like what they did with the young Jigsaw and Saw.
Give him like a big, like huge lollipop with like a spiral in it.
A propeller on his head. One day I'd like to attend the academy.
Well, I guess I could ask the first question in 25 minutes because we haven't needed one. This movie just
You asked the question.
provides you
So-
endless loops of things to talk about. But we had this question: is Tom Hardy at fault for Shinzon's characterization, or is it just the script? And I think it's just the script.
I think it's the
Doing
script.
his best.
Fully
It's a
script.
thing that
Fine.
Tom Hardy had real issues coming out of this movie for years. He really doubted himself as an actor.
Mhm.
This movie kind of ruined him mentally. He thought it was him, but I don't see any problem with it, honestly. I really think he did an okay Picard under the circumstances. It's all the script.
I mean, his characterization to me seems a little stiff, but I do wonder what the direction was, like what the director said to him and how to sort of hold himself. Because when you see him, he's literally like his arms are stuck out like this. So I wonder if like the costume is like super uncomfortable, where he can't just put his arms down in his sides. He doesn't gesticulate in like a natural way, and the line delivery just seems really detached.
I think
But-
you're right, Vanessa. His outfit's too tight. It just does not lend itself to being like having a lot of movement and emotive. But also, I think, isn't that the Romulan way? They're not super emotive, so he's supposed to be kind of like the stoic-y version.
He was like on
He was
Remus
What,
for a
raised
really
in the
long time.
mines, really.
He yearned for the mines. There's several better movies mentioned in this movie. Like I wanted to see the Dominion War and the Remans fighting in it. No, we just got a reference
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah, that sounded interesting.
Tom Hardy, I
think
agree,
it
is
was
a
just-
great actor.
I think that was just
Movies
a,
of
This is like his first
nonsense.
American movie.
I totally blame the
Probably.
script. I totally blame the script.
Yeah.
I think he did a great job, and I think he did a great job with what he had to work with. I mean, think about some of the lines he had to deliver and some of the scenes he was like, okay, so we were just talking about how he's getting all cheeky with Troy, but you remember that Romulan lady who was all into him and tried to kiss him or something, and he was like, "Don't ever touch me. No one's allowed to touch me. Only my second in command can touch my chest to heal my issues," or whatever. So you're kind of like, I mean,
Only my boyfriend can touch me.
only my boyfriend can touch me, not you. So then the
Only
question
Hellboy.
is, I mean, how many ways could he act that scene? Like how many, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like it's really hard to blame him on this.
I mean, I get the underlying point they were trying to make there. It was just not done well.
And there's also like there must have been a cut scene where this sort of like fetish for human women was explained a little bit better. That seemed to be his motivation for being so repulsed by her. You're not a woman, you're a Romulan.
I think it's probably just, because of his upbringing, which we got to see precious little of.
I
He's
just
the only
realized
human in a mine of ugly creatures being oppressed by Romulans. So he's,
Would you call them ugly bags of mostly water?
Ugly bags of mostly pearlman? I don't know.
I just realized that Shinzon looks like a Cenobite from the Hellraiser universe. That's
He
the look.
He do.
That's the look.
And they have those like really tight sort of
bald black leather, like it's giving Cenobite.
We should meet Cybok to give him his pain, and then it could all come full circle.
That would be a better.
You might kill Cybok.
Just give me a movie between
Cybok
Cybok and Ron Perlman as the Riemann Viceroy. Honestly, I think I'd have more fun with it.
And I think Shinzon has nothing in common with Cusco. I think Cusco's a much better leader. Has so much personality and pizzazz. No touchy.
No touchy.
So, a dune buggy? Really?
Why not?
You know why
What was this about?
You know why
we saw the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah, exactly. When they dropped the dune buggy on Tatooine. But what really bugged me about this whole scene?
What really buggied you?
What really buggied me about this whole scene? They're in a gas-powered vehicle. That's what really got me. I want them in a sand race. If we're going to be in Tatooine, let's be in a future vehicle. Like, why are we in literally like a Range Rover you got from the like? This is space. This is future. Why is it? I could get that car. Like, that's what bugged me about that scene. I just felt like that broke the whole future.
I think it's because they're pre-warp down there.
That was the reason behind it. But I think the behind the scenes reason is Patrick Stewart asked for a driving scene. At least that's what I've heard.
It's weird. The only thing I can think of is the only thing I can think of is that this came out a year after Halo for Xbox, and that was a big thing with the Warthog, and it's very reminiscent of that.
Oh yeah.
I don't know otherwise. I have no idea. I never really understood. I thought these guys that were attacking them were just like mercenaries, but then I had seen somebody else's take on it today, just randomly looking through stuff that said, yeah, it's the people from the planet, this like pre-warp but industrialized civilization.
They just don't like trespassers.
I thought it was like the equivalent of the army of this planet.
Then why would Shinzon? So then that leads to my question: why would Shinzon put all of these parts of B4 in a place that might get them killed to go get it? There had to be a completely desolate place to set this up.
Maybe it was a test, and he doesn't want like weak boy blood. Oh.
Maybe he thinks the mercenaries will take care of his problem for him.
But if they did, then they wouldn't. Then Shinzon wouldn't get access to Picard's blood to continue sustaining himself.
I guess he didn't seem that invested in being alive.
Maybe he didn't anticipate Picard beaming down himself to go down there.
That's a good point. I bet that's it. Like,
that's fair.
He could have just gone to the gym when Picard was working out and stolen him.
I wondered about Data's comment about like going at unreasonable speeds because they're in a warp ship. That's pretty fast.
Yeah, that is a good point. I feel like even their impulse speed is like what, thousands of times, hundreds of times as fast as that's going.
But you can't
Like
feel the wind
close
in your
to the speed
scalp.
of light,
True.
but not faster. Yeah.
It's all
You can't feel
relative.
the
I
wind in
mean, we're all going at like 80,000 miles an hour or something
Yeah,
around
true.
the sun and things like that, and traveling through the galaxy at or 250 million years or whatever it takes to make a full rotation. Anyway, we're all moving at speeds. We just don't perceive most of it.
That is true.
So, in the follow up to this whole thing on fucking not Tatooine here, or whatever planet it is,
Not to wean.
what's with B4? Why is this a thing now? Also, what are the odds that the Enterprise's standard scans include looking for positronic signals?
That's so bizarre. Everything about this is bizarre.
Mr. Frodo.
What is not weird is the thought that Noonien Soong built another android. That's kind of his thing. He built another android. He didn't tell you till now. Okay, sure, fine.
That tracks.
But the fact that the android that he built was B4, and then what did he do with it? So how did Shinzon get it all the way out here? That didn't make sense. The fact that there was an android in existence, I was like, I buy that. But everything else about it was like, I need a refund.
He just like threw it out in the space trash and it ended up on this random desolate planet.
Remember when they found Lore, it was kind of like on this random planet too. And you saw the extra parts and you saw his butt prominently displayed.
Well,
that's what I was missing.
That wasn't
honestly.
the random planet. That was the planet Data came from.
Yeah,
was
that
just
one had like
hidden.
all kinds of ties to storylines and whatnot. That would have been a great place to be like, oh, there's some like signs. There were some signs there that there were more androids before. Whatever, I don't know. But this makes no sense. That there was some precursor to Lore.
Yeah.
That went where, was found how, was disassembled why, like.
And why wouldn't these tribes on this desolate planet have found him already and like used him for parts? Like Shinzon must have like chosen an especially difficult place. It
could have been worshiping his head as a god.
Yeah.
And they buried each piece like 1 foot under the sand. I mean, it wasn't true treasure hunting, right? They just kind of threw it real hard at the dirt and let a little bit of sand pile on top because they didn't want to mess up the hands when the Enterprise surely came calling. I don't know. There's just a lot of big question marks about this. And I know the point of B4 was to be a spy / so we don't feel so bad when they kill Data, but also that just doesn't make any sense. I don't know.
He was mostly there, I think, so Data could pretend to be him and rescue Picard.
Yeah.
Very convenient, long lost younger brother.
Well, and for the awesome parallel of two people that were the same, because you had Picard and Shinzon and Data and B4, just great parallels all the way through.
Which of course Data has to spell out for you because nothing can be subtext in this fucking movie.
And even though I really don't like Lore as a character, it's too evil twin trope stuff. This actually would have been a better version of that had they done it on the show, but in the movie, it's just really shoehorned in there as a parallel between Shinzon and Picard.
Well, Shinzon and Lore could have worked together. I mean, Lore wouldn't have put up with this crap, but
yeah, Lore would have double crossed Shinzon and then double crossed the Enterprise and then triple crossed Shinzon. Like there could have been a lot more layers.
Well,
and then
that probably
show up and you're like, what? Like it could have been a whole.
Yeah, Lore probably would have taken the weapon at the end because he could kill organic life and no one would care because it wouldn't hurt him. He'd be fine.
Yeah, I feel like the movie would have actually been vastly improved by Lore instead of B4, actually.
You know what? Now that you say it, and we throw out the whole found body parts on Not Tatooine. We just throw that out.
Yeah, 100%.
It's some like really clever trick. Kind of like in Chain of Command, where it was some clever trick why it had to be Picard who showed up or whatever. And then when they're in range, something, and he's behind it. That would have been interesting. I would like to see that movie. It
could have been such like a good reveal to like somewhere in the second act where like you realize that lore's involved, and then you can do the whole shenanigan with Data doing the switch out and stuff. But like, yeah, it'd just be better.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be fun
Or
if like you didn't know which one was lore or which one was
well,
Data. Like,
yeah.
so
Lord
similar
could have colluded with Janeway. He could have sent a communication to Janeway about
Janeway wouldn't
this
know.
thing with Shinzon or something.
Oh
to get
yeah,
him
like do a
started.
little
Okay. All right.
save the stuff
Impersonate Data.
across.
Yeah, Robbie says there's this movie already has too many layers. I think that's fair. So what we're doing right now is we are rewriting.
We're getting rid of the bad layers.
Yeah,
that
I
the
barely
layers
had
are
to
more
ask a
connected.
question in
Progressive.
this. We are filling this time, that's for sure. Mr. Captain had made a comment that made me think
Mhm.
about. I think it would have been interesting in this one, like the last movie in the TOS series, to have Riker on the Titan already, like Sulu on the Excelsior. So we're like passing the torch to the next generation, and we kind of did that, but I think it would have been better to like have the two ships team up on this and make it more of a fight. I think it would have been. I think it's a missed opportunity.
So okay, now here's what I'm thinking from the comments in the chat. So somebody steals lore and reactivates him and uses him as some kind of Trojan horse, but he gets the drop and then does the double cross. That would be a more interesting plot than whatever happened with B4 showing up. Because you'd be like, okay, yeah, somebody could totally steal lore. Oh yeah, somebody could totally put him back together.
And then
put the arms
Badgie
with-
blackmails them all.
Yeah. In the most adorable way ever.
Plus, then you could have lore like be moved by Data's death, and then we could have like an open-ended, oh, where does lore go next thing to it if you still have to kill Data? Like, way more powerful than fucking, oh, we just brought Data back with B4, here you go.
Oh, he's singing a tune. It's all good.
I think Scylla totally would have backed Shinzon, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah,
She would have backed him, but she
they
wouldn't have
bonded
followed
with a
him.
mutual hatred of themselves.
She would have
See, that
double
would've
crossed him so bad. It would have been great.
That would have
Yeah,
been
I
interesting
agree.
also. Like, that would have been a good character in this
But
particular plot.
she wouldn't have come to the realization that the other Romulan commander did. It's like, all right, well, there's a bridge too far in war. Scylla would have been owned that. She's like, yeah, that's fine. We
It
can
would have been
destroy
Sayla's
Earth,
idea.
whatever.
She would have been like, yeah, let's go. I already got the coordinates. Let's go.
But
Like,
that's when your idea of the Titan coming in to save the day could have been instead of the Romulan ships.
Mhm,
You get the
mhm.
Titan and the Enterprise.
yeah. So there's a lot of ways this could have been improved. I don't know what
really
happened.
it really does feel like they left so much important things on the cutting room floor, and that's why I think this is such a mess. There's just a lot of things that just sort of suddenly happen that don't really make sense. And again, it's like someone needed to screen this thoroughly with a focus group or something to point out
bet
like there's
they
a lot of
did.
inconsistencies in here.
I bet they did screen this with a focus group, and that's what's wrong with it. I bet they had like the wrong focus group who was not like
Yeah.
Star Trek fans, and was like they were trying to like get like the regular like action movie fans, and so then they like took tips from a focus group that is not like Star Trek fans, and then made a movie to appeal to not Star Trek fans.
So it does seem kind of like proto JJ verse, where it's like the emphasis is not on building out pre-existing lore or wrapping up these storylines in a satisfying way. It's more like we just make things go boom, and that's nice.
Well, yeah,
But
the
we can do
pre-existing
that.
lore was just
It's a lot of
random
money.
references.
But we can do that and still tell a good story. This is the issue. Like, it does not have to be deep into. We don't have to have Sayla. We don't have to have lore. We don't have to have Easter eggs. But you do have to tell a good story. And I will say, this movie was beautiful. The costuming was beautiful. The makeup job was beautiful. Like, the set deck was gorgeous. The CGI was super cool, although it looks a little dated now, but it was really cool then. So, like, the production value was there, but that doesn't matter if you don't have a good story. I mean, it's nice to look at, right? But we're still not happy. Like, we're still not satisfied because the story wasn't good. I'd rather have a great story
Okay.
with less Easter eggs.
I was going to get to
Okay.
this when we get to the final question about
Yeah.
Like
whether
if
this
they,
is the worst directed Star
if
Trek
they built
movie.
out one of the ideas that they were touching on rather than firing on all cylinders on random stuff, I think this could have been a lot better than it is.
Scott, what were you going to say?
Same thing Dustin was, I think, but he was waiting until we get to a certain question.
We'll
so.
get to that because we're coming right up. We're almost at the end of the hour. The question that I posed in the title of this video about it being the worst directed Star Trek movie. But James K, that's absolutely true. So a couple of things in everything everybody said. I do think Scylla actually needed to be in this, even if it's just a cameo, just to get just what's her name?
Denise Crosby.
Yes, Denise Crosby
Denise Crosby.
into it. You know,
That would have been
to
a more
bookend the series.
if Data were going to die, which he was always going to. when he set
Scylla
up
being
to
the
do this
one to
movie.
kill. Oh, I hadn't thought of that,
Oh,
but that
would
would
be good.
that would be perfect. Actually,
Damn.
so there's that, and then I think I've lost the other three trains of thought because we've gone on so many tangents. I've had to ask so few questions in this.
You're
but I actually
welcome.
love that.
What did everybody
That's
think
fine.
about
This
wedding?
is a great discussion. About what?
The wedding in the beginning. That
Oh,
was
That
like,
was fine.
oh, okay.
The not naked wedding.
Actually,
The not-
Did
it would have been better if it was naked. Let's be honest.
Didn't it transition directly from bioweapon melting all the senators to the wedding? Wasn't
Yeah.
that like
Wedding, they sure did.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think that alone describes my experience of this film. That right there, where you're like, oh, okay, no, oh, okay, oh, it's over, huh?
Is it?
Just constant emotional whiplash.
We got Guinan and Wesley, and then they cut their lines.
But it wasn't emotional whiplash. That's the whole point. It wasn't even emotional. It was
I
just
think you're right. Just like perception whiplash. Where you're like, what? What?
I'm over here now.
Okay.
yeah. It was like, where's Waldo with the plot? You know, there he is. Nope, that's not it.
Yeah, the thing is, like, Picard sort of pressuring his crew to be naked seems really
Oh, that was so weird.
unseemly. Like,
And on Picard,
I know
What
this may
What
make
if I
you
want to see your two penises? That's in order.
poor balls.
Make it so.
Like, you're a strapping young man. It's like, you clearly planned this. You really want to
Like,
see
where
me.
did
It was
HR?
all like it was
Mr.
almost
Wolf,
like it was all to
show
set
us
up
what
that
you've
joke.
got.
Show me what you got.
Oh my god.
Drop it like it's hot, Mr. Wolf.
Oh my god.
It was almost like it was just to set up the joke where he's like, everyone is going to be naked. Now, if you need me, I'll be in the gym.
Sir, I
Ba-da-ba.
protest. I am not a naked man.
And I'm going to follow that up, Scott. The whole thing, and then he goes to the gym and he's like, "You've got the bridge, Mr. Troy." For a fucking movie that started in the wedding with Data being like, men, women, and androgynous species, or whatever he says, like, and
Transgender. I think
Oh,
he
yeah.
said
yeah,
transgender.
and that's very
Yes.
like open. We then make a joke about, "Oh, hey, you're the woman in this relationship." Ha ha ha. Why would we make that joke in the 24th century? Because that one's always haunted me.
Harbinger of horrible things to come. That's what I think.
Oh, are you saying because of Mr. Troy?
Is that Henry Rubinger?
Mr. Troy.
Yeah. See, and maybe I misread it. I always thought that they established in Betazoid culture that you took the woman's name, but that may have been a retcon after this movie.
Okay, well, that would make a lot more sense, but
Now
it
he's a
seems
sleuth
like
at
it's a
the house?
clear jab
Yeah.
at like his masculinity.
No, it was
there.
definitely a jab for the audience at the time, but I think they might have retconned it after the fact to fit it in.
but wait, I still have a question from what Rin said. Do Klingons have two penises? Is that a real
Yes.
thing?
At the end of
According to
Discovery.
Discovery, yes.
Discovery, yeah.
We saw one in silhouette once.
Yeah.
We saw
So
two streams from a
Double urine
Klingon that
too.
was peeing.
it was,
And we know that they have two of all major organs, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
come-
with two hearts. I didn't know they had two of all major organs.
It was an
Yeah,
extrapolation
it was a
of the
stat
thing
in
that they talked
TNG.
about on the episode where Worf wanted to end
Ethics.
his own life,
The Blue Barrel Assault.
where there were, the blue barrel thing.
Who's
And
totally
he was
ready
like,
to
I
make a
really want to
stab.
die. And they talked about how there's two organs for everything. And so the season finale of season 1, you saw two pee streams on Konos coming out of a Klingon standing outside and taking a pee. So it was like,
Take it a beat.
oh, so that joke has spawned so many shit posts since then. 2 dicks and 4 balls, the math just expanding from there. Yeah.
Yeah, Nadia, what do you need 2 spines for?
Yeah.
Said he has they have redundancies of all the important organs. What is there
The
to
spine's
think?
not an organ; it's bones.
And it turned out he had like a backup brain, spinal something.
Yep.
And their forehead ridges always match.
It's bigger on the
Yeah.
inside.
Discovery,
Oh my god.
discovery of freaking TARDIS, basically.
But it's like Picard's
Biology.
whole entire thing is like deferring to people's cultural comfort while, prioritizing diplomacy. So to say you will be naked is just wild to say.
It felt very
I'm
out
not
of
even sure that,
character
like, hear that
and
on
just
Beta.
gross and weird. Where is the Federation HR? Where are they?
Where's Luxana Troy?
At the wedding, naked.
She started early. She's pre-gaming.
Yeah.
She's been naked since the engagement.
She's just
She's
walking around
like,
naked, setting
Oh my
everything up.
I wonder if anybody's done the off-brand porn of that. The
What's got
the Beta Z wedding?
Betazoid wedding.
I mean, it's a lot of Imzadi talk about that. There's like a naked wedding right at the start. So
Yep.
And they don't tell Riker about it. Like it's his first time on Beta Z. They're just like, yeah, you're going to a wedding, and by the way, there's a dress code. And he finds out when he gets there.
No dress.
It's Ferengi dress code. Ferengi formal.
Okay, I guess with this last 10 minutes, we should get to the big question. Is this the worst directed Star Trek movie? It's not the worst movie for me at all.
No, it's not the worst.
But the direction seems odd, and we've had a lot of like mentions in chat here, like would Frakes or Nicholas Meyer have been better? I don't know, to be honest. The script is all the fuck over the place. But to pick a guy that's never seen Star Trek at all, maybe that can be like a thing. Like you can get a vision that's a fresh perspective. But to me,
because Nicholas Meyer had never seen Star Trek, and he directed 2 great movies.
But he went
looked
and
into
took the time to watch some
Yeah,
of it
yeah.
before he even said yes,
One
to
would
be
see
like,
your-
all right,
your-
okay, I get this now.
Well,
This guy thought Geordi was an
apparently,
alien the whole movie.
rejected Frakes' offers to like help him too. So like he was completely out of his depth, and then also refusing help from like someone who's successfully directed multiple Star Trek things at that point. Like it's absurd.
Yeah, it wasn't just Frakes. Like a lot of the cast would go to tell him, like when he'd give a direction to do something a certain way, they'd be like, "My character wouldn't do that." Like, dude, we've been through 7 seasons and 3 movies. I know what my character would do. Could you just please? And he'd be like, "No, please do it my way."
I think J.J. Abrams is the private equity firm of so many IPs and has chewed through the goodness of and ripped the soul out. And I don't really necessarily see it with this. I do think this is the worst storyboarded movie of Trek.
That's fair.
Maybe a little bit below Section 31 in terms of like badness and where the story's going.
God.
But like there's nothing that really amounts to anything impactful in this movie. So I like whoever wrote this story or put this together, not great.
The way I understand it, Rick Berman actually had the most to do with this one.
Oh.
Well, that
That's
makes
a
a
few
lot of
things.
sense.
Maybe if all the deleted scenes were put back, maybe then it would make sense. But I have a
True, but then
feeling
we'd
it
have to
wouldn't.
watch more of this
Yeah,
movie.
it would have added the character depth, but it wouldn't have changed the story, I don't think.
Yeah.
Right.
So this movie review went on a weird tangent. What are you talking about? We literally reviewed this movie. The movie was the weird tangent.
It was all a weird tangent because I have like 15 or so questions still on my sheet. We kind of touched on almost all of them, but I didn't have to ask the questions. We just kind of orderly went through them.
But
Kind
to
of
that
a bummer. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say the comparison with Section 31, I was super disappointed with that movie, but I do think it was a better told story than this one just because of
Agreed.
its sheer simplicity. It was like
Mhm.
bad guy, weapon, stop the weapon from getting to the bad guy. Oh, the bad guy's got the weapon. Like it was very like it was written for a child. Like the plot was very easy to follow, even if the writing was not excellent, right? Because it always comes back to another gorgeous movie, but the story was like kind of dumb. But the plot was super simple. But this, it's like every part of it was just like, why are these people doing these things? And why should I care?
Well,
And
that's
why
a
did you kill my
double-edged sword,
favorite
yeah.
character?
Like Section 31 was, aside from Giorgio, like nobody you gave a crap about because you didn't know any of them yet.
Oh yeah.
Here you've got people you've
Yes or
loved
no,
forever,
movie.
but none of them are acting like they're supposed to.
Oh, okay. So Nadia corrected me that Mr. Captain was talking about the penis part, not the rest of the conversation. Okay, you're right. That was
Back to the penises. Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't weird tangent. That was on me.
Always with
That's
the
fair.
penises.
Sorry, we didn't mean to
Penises
move
in
on so
Section
quickly.
31. That's where all great Star Trek discussions end. I do like Section 31 better than this.
Windows.
For mostly those same reasons that you said, Shereese. It's like, it's simpler. At least it doesn't go on too long. At the same time, like, yeah, if they're... It is such a toss-up because they cut some great characterization for the final moments that we should have ever seen these characters. But at the same time, I don't want to watch more of this movie because it's already 2 hours. So
I kept checking to see how much more movie was left and then sighing when there was so much movie left.
Yeah, the whole, like, it just keeps derailing itself. Like, Shinzon captures Picard at one point and then just does the classic Bond villain thing and reveals the plot to him. And then we send Picard back and then we square off again.
All we were missing was like the
boom,
high
boom,
back
boom.
chair and the cat and
Yes.
like a trap door.
This was where Lore steals Spot, right? Like that's part of it. And the Data has to infiltrate to get Spot back, and Shinzon's just like $1 billion.
That would be a
It's
better
so
movie,
unfortunate
too.
because like this is not how you want to end a franchise. This is not how you want to end a series or like have the last moments of these characters as we are aware of them have screen time. This is I would put this on the same level as like Generations with how bad it is.
It
Well,
is definitely
imagine if
out with a whimper.
Imagine if the TOS movies, the final movie was the final frontier. I feel like that would have been the same thing. It's the same kind of level of bad.
I don't
If
know.
this
Going
had-
out on that campfire scene would have actually been,
We probably wouldn't have got these movies.
whole movie aside, that could have been a good ending. The ending of this was a little.
I agree.
But we can't
Though
put
the
whole
though
movie
the very
aside.
very end isn't terrible because I mean we come back around with B4 and Picard sends off Riker onto his new command. Like those are okay. They're not wowing, but yeah, they're almost in that same vein as the campfire. Not quite as good.
But like, imagine this story did what somebody clearly thought it would do and was amazing, and had like emotion and connection and resonance and stuff. Then sure, it could have been the perfect way to.
Well,
go.
this wasn't supposed to be the end, though. Like they
Oh,
were
okay.
already planning the next movie.
Then
until
I'm
this-
totally out of excuses for this nonsense. I've got nothing.
The next movie was supposed to be like more of a crossover with DS9 and Voyager as well, but
Oh man.
We were so cheated.
Yeah.
That sucks. Now I'm like 3 times as angry, and I was already angry.
Because like
Oh.
they would have to explain Janeway's role in this. They would have to have some kind of discussion, like, "Hey, why are you talking to Shinzon when he's clearly in the wrong for having killed the entire Romulan Senate? Like, why are you talking to this guy?"
Hey, were you promoted immediately after getting home?
it's like, listen, I don't know what's going on in your quadrant. I just got here. So give me 7 years to catch up. Come on.
Already, Admiral, they're just like, here, send an email with your face.
I love when she was listing the accomplishments. Like, oh, you've dealt with a lot of big things, including the
Did they make you a
Sona.
hologram yet?
The Sona, really? They're one of the big things he's dealt with.
Yeah, that has always sat wrong with me.
I once heard
Alright,
Garrett Wong, who's the actor who plays Harry Kim, he had said, like back when they were filming Voyager, that he and the other people in the industry or whatever were really, really trying to rally for a movie for DS9 and a movie for Voyager instead of Insurrection and Nemesis. And when he said that, I was like, duh, like that would have been amazing. And then I couldn't unthink the thought. I was like, oh man, that would have been so fun.
On
But
the
instead,
other hand, I don't know if, because the writing of the TNG movies has been so that they could have done DS9 justice. I guess we'll never know. But I'm just like protective of DS9 a little bit, and I don't know if like fleshing out for an entire movie would be the best thing.
I also
The
feel
way it
like
ended, there's not a lot left for it.
Exactly.
that's also how I feel about Voyager, honestly, because like their whole thing was trying to get home from the Delta Quadrant. So what would there really be for them to do in a movie other than some like generic action plot to get the gang back together, I guess?
so Garrett Wong's idea was
It's
that
the
the
only
season
ship in
finale
range.
for DS9 and the season finale for Voyager would both be movies.
Oh,
Okay, that
That was his thinking, was
Oh,
like
alright.
the end cap would be, instead of like a two-parter, it would be a movie
okay.
to like wrap up the storyline.
My
I know
brain
it-
was
like,
not like
yeah.
comprehending the timelines.
In
That
some of the
makes sense.
novels, like the characters went on to do other things. So like Tuvok served on the Titan with Riker. So they could have like put people in new positions, but it wouldn't be the same as a true
to see that though.
follow-up of Voyager.
That thing that you said about characters sort of arbitrarily coming back for action sequences, that's like all of Picard. So.
All right. So speaking of wrapping it up, it's been an hour. We got to move on to our out of 10s here.
You have to wrap them both up.
Don't forget to wear a raincoat. All right. So the out of 10s here for this movie will go around clockwise. I'm at like a 3.5. It's about the same as Star Trek 5. I think I gave Star Trek 5 a 3. It's a smidge better, but it's worse than all but Insurrection for the TNG movies. It's like the action it's serviceable as an action movie if you like action movies. But as a Trek movie, it's only like on the very low end of mediocre. I like it better than a few, but worse than most. Go ahead, Ren.
Yeah, I think about like a 3.4 is what I was thinking too. There's just so much wrong with it, and it's bad enough that it undermines the parts of it that are remotely good or enjoyable. I hadn't watched this movie in like 20 years because it was bad enough the first time I watched it. And rewatching it for this, I was just like, wow, this is worse than I remembered.
It's actually the first time I remember seeing this movie all the way through, even though I know I've seen it at least once before. I'd say it's almost middle of the road, but then they had to bring in Troy being mind assaulted again. So I'm personally would just drop it back down to 3.5.
So something I think I mentioned before we started on the stream is this movie. Back in the day when I was a kid, I was super pumped for. I downloaded the trailer on my family PC. I watched it over and over again. Like, sweet, we're going to Romulus. Oh man, look at that Enterprise E. Oh, holy crap, Lore's in this? Because we didn't know before the movie came out. There's just Data looking at some dude that looked like him. I'm like, this is gonna be so cool. And then you see the movie and it's like slogging through it. There's such weird choices. They tried to be a little darker and edgier, I feel, even though it didn't land at all. And the characterizations for the most part just weren't what we've come to know for most of the characters, if they had any characterization at all. And then they threw in little things that were inconsistent, like Wesley's just there back in Starfleet for who knows what reason. Worf's just back on the ship doing what he always did. You know, who cares about the character arcs they went on in the shows, because this is a movie, folks. So there's just a lot of choices here that went the wrong way. So I'm going to probably give it, I guess, a 4, because I still do like some of the visuals quite a bit.
I consider this right around the worst movie so far. For me, this is like a 2. I think there's so many things that could have been explored, like Picard gaining inroads with the Romulans as he does later in Picard, the show. Like, we'll go out for a drink later thing. The mirror with Shinzon, the finding of B4, all of these ideas, it's very cornucopia, just cramming every possible half-baked idea that's already been tread in TNG in a much more tasteful way, and it just amounts to nothing. And Data's death just feels worthless. Like, it's just pointless because we see him again in the next scene. That loss doesn't really mean anything. So 2.
I am going to give it a 4. I feel like it had a lot of elements that could have been great. Might even say should have been great. But it became a soup sandwich, and I don't know where it was going or what it was trying to do, but it didn't quite get there for me. The death of Data, I will never forgive. So Nemesis can burn for all I care.
Or forget.
Or forget, that's right. But I do think it had a lot of elements that could have been, to Vanessa's point, that could have been amazing. The mind assault of Troy, like, that's so 1992. Like, let's be done with that. And yeah, like, but I'm not going to give it like a 1 or a 2 because 1, I haven't seen all the movies, so there might be some that are worse. But 2, I also feel like, you know, there were things that could have been great. Like I said before, the visuals were amazing and yada, yada, yada. The actors were probably great too, but the writing was just like I don't know. I feel like there was a monkey wrench thrown in at some point, and maybe a massive rewrite could have saved this somehow.
One can only hope.
Yeah, it's about 20 years too late for that. So I don't know if maybe this was just my experience, but I was actually going to the movies a lot in 2002 and 2003. I didn't even know this movie existed until I saw it on the shelves at Best Buy as a DVD.
Oh, wow.
I would have gone to see it in the movie theater no matter
did.
what it looked like.
I think this was.
I'd seen the previous 3 in TNG, so like, you know, after Insurrection, I definitely would have been like, well, it can't be any worse than this.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. And like earlier, when you said something about watching this movie when you were a kid, and I was like, this came out when I was 20.
I'm 30, so I was like probably 8 when it came out, but when I actually saw it, it was probably like 10 because we had it on VHS.
I was in high school, I think.
I only saw the cut version that my friend made into a 45-minute episode, and it was much better because that's what happens when you cut out all the things that just doesn't work. You make a much better thing. And he actually cut out Data's death. So.
It's a solid 17 minutes.
Oh yeah,
I don't know
fuck
about
that.
The best 30 minutes money could buy.
I would love to see like a shorter cut of both this and Insurrection. I don't think I'd want to see a shorter cut of First Contact or even Generations. You could cut a little bit out of Generations, but like most of it, I actually like.
Didn't you say the Generations cut it didn't have Kirk? Or didn't someone say that? Maybe I was talking to someone else. There's like a Generations cut without the Kirk stuff.
Difficult, but not impossible, I guess.
Chronotons?
Always.
Those could have saved this.
Those are always an option. Well, you know what can't save us? Nothing can save us from the JJ movies that are coming up, of which I think one of them's pretty okay. The rest we'll get to. We have 3 more weeks of this, and then we've decided to add on 1 more movie. After we finish the JJ movies, we are going to do the Tim Russ directed, fan-made Of Gods and Men from 2007. We'll ignore Renegades, which came out a few years after that. After the embargo from CBS, where you're not allowed to make a full length thing with real actors from Star Trek anymore, and they unbranded it. But we will do Of Gods and Men because it is pretty interesting. It's at least better than some of these movies. So, yeah, I would like to thank all of my co-hosts for coming in here. I would really like to, if you didn't see it before, or if you are on the fence about doing it, please go donate to Dell's GoFundMe. It's in the description. Don't make me bring back the Sarah McLachlan "Go Save the Dogs and Cats" video next week. Okay? Okay? All right. Now that we understand each other, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. And until then,